Have you ever had that feeling, where you suddenly need to get a handle on something complex, maybe for a meeting or just because you're curious, and it just feels like information overload?
Oh, absolutely. Drowning in notes or articles.
Exactly. Well, today's deep dive has a mission, maybe a surprising one, giving you a shortcut, a really powerful one, to getting well-informed quickly. We're unlocking a technique for processing spoken info fast and, crucially, saying it back clearly.
That's right. And the specific approach we're digging into, well, it comes from insights into English tests like the PTE, specifically Mastering PTE Retell Lecture, a transitive verb approach. But honestly, the technique itself, it's gold for anyone needing to summarize spoken stuff on the fly.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll touch on why listening to real people talk is trickier than you might think.
Definitely. The real world isn't a clean recording studio.
Then we dive into this specific grammar trick, the transitive verb approach. We'll show how it helps you sound fluent, organized, almost instantly.
And we've got a great example lined up too, right, from a lecture about the history of alcohol.
Yeah, a really fascinating one that shows this in action. But first, those listening challenges.
Right. So think about something like the PTE exam. Pearson Education, who makes it, their whole philosophy is using recordings of real people speaking English publicly.
Not actors in a booth.
Exactly. So as a listener or test taker, you're going to hear voices with all sorts of features, higher pitch, lower pitch, maybe accents from their first language, things that sound different from, let's say, standard broadcast English.
And the delivery itself varies so much too. People speed up, they slow down.
Some people have a real rhythm, others might be more monotone. It's unpredictable.
And what about the recording environment?
Good point. It's not always perfect studio sound. You might hear room noise if the mic was far away, or maybe even sound technicians playing with effects, distorting things slightly.
So, okay, connecting this back. What does this mean for you, whether you're prepping for an exam or just trying to follow a lecture or a meeting?
It means you need a solid strategy, one that can handle this kind of unpredictable audio. Pearson actually suggests practicing by listening to lots of different English speakers.
And they specifically recommend things like TED Talks, right?
Yeah, precisely because they're public talks. The idea is that listening to these exposes you to all that variety of different voices, speeds, mic setups. It levels the playing field, trains your ear.
Okay, so we need a robust strategy. Let's unpack this core technique then, the transitive verb approach.
Right. So the core idea for summarizing something you've heard, like in Retell Lecture, is to build a kind of mental procedure using transitive verbs.
Transitive verbs. Okay, quick grammar refresh.
Yeah. Basically, they're verbs that need something after them, a direct object to make sense. Think about it. If I say, I mentioned, what's your next thought?
Mentioned what?
Exactly. Or I described, or I discussed, or I talked about. None of those feel complete alone. They need that what.
Okay, unlike something like I jog.
Precisely. I jog is intransitive. It stands alone. But I mentioned points towards the key information.
And this is crucial because why? Why focus on these?
Well, think about the time pressure. In something like a Retell Lecture, you might only have, say, 60 to 90 seconds to listen and scribble down notes, usually just keywords, right?
Fragments, yeah.
Then you've got maybe only 10 seconds before you have to start talking. It's incredibly fast.
Wow, okay.
So this technique, using transitive verbs, it gives you an instant structure, a scaffold to hang those keywords on and form sentences quickly.
Like a fill-in-the-blank structure you can use immediately.
Exactly. And here's the recommended procedure. It's actually worth memorizing because it's reusable maybe 5 to 7 times across different parts of a test like PTE, or just generally helpful.
Okay, let's hear it.
It goes like this. First, the speaker was talking about, and here you state the main topic.
Got it. That's usually easy to pick up early.
Usually in the first sentence, yeah. Then, he or she mentioned, followed by a blank. Then, he or she described, blank. He or she said, blank. He or she stated, blank. And finally, he or she talked about, another blank.
Mentioned, described, said, stated, talked about.
Yeah.
Those are all transitive verbs. They lead you to fill in the what.
That's the core structure. It guides you.
Okay, but how do you fill in those blanks smoothly, especially when you just have keywords?
That's where the next layer comes in. Noun clauses. This is how you supercharge the fluency.
Noun clauses. Sounds technical, but break it down.
It's simpler than it sounds. A noun clause is basically a mini sentence that acts like a single noun. You create it by putting a connecting word right after your transitive verb.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say a keyword you noted was people do wrong things. Using the procedure, you'd say, He mentioned that people don't always do the right thing.
Ah, I see. That is the connecting word.
Right, the subordinate conjunction.
And people don't always do the right thing is the noun clause, filling the space after mentioned.
Precisely. And that is the most common one you'll use. It's super versatile.
Are there other useful connecting words?
Definitely. You can use how to show the way something happened, why for a reason, who if it's about a person, where for a place, when for a time, what for a thing.
So those why question words.
Exactly. They let you slot in more specific details from your notes really easily, adding richness to your summary.
And the big benefit here is fluency, right? You're not pausing trying to string keywords together.
That's the beauty of it. By using this structure with noun clauses, you just naturally keep talking. You're forming complete, grammatically sound sentences almost automatically. And fluency is huge in these kinds of communication tasks.
Okay, this is making sense. Let's see it work with that example you mentioned, the history of alcohol one. That sounded intriguing.
It is. So imagine you hear this lecture snippet. Starts with a chimp, maybe finding some overripe plums that have fallen, split open. The smell draws him in, she eats them, starts feeling, well, a bit funny. He's accidentally discovered fermentation. Then the lecture explains how humans figured this out later, how sugars in fruit attract yeast. Yeast makes ethanol, which is alcohol. It mentions the earliest proof we have, maybe from China, 7,000 BCE.
7,000 BCE. What were they making?
A mix, apparently. Fermented rice, millet, grapes, honey residue found in old pots.
Huh.
Then it talks about ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt. They made beer, lots of it. It was like a daily ration for everyone, all social classes. Wine was much rarer there, maybe more of a delicacy.
Okay, fascinating stuff. So if I heard that, my notes might be super basic.
Right, you might just jot down alcoholic drinks. Beer, wine, sugar plus yeast, ethanol, 7,000 BCE China mix. Egypt, beer, wine ration. Social classes drank.
Just quick keywords like that. Okay, now apply the procedure. How does that transform?
Watch this. Using the structure and noun clauses, the speaker was talking about alcohol. That's the topic.
Okay,
He mentioned that it is made with sugar and yeast, using that and the keyword.
got it.
He described how this makes ethanol, using how. He said that 7,000 years ago, the Chinese made alcohol, using that again.
Okay.
He stated that the Egyptians made beer and some wine, using stated and that. Finally, he talked about how the social classes drank it, using talked about and how.
Wow. That flows incredibly smoothly from just those few notes. It sounds like a coherent summary.
Exactly. The notes just slot right into the noun clauses after the verbs, and the main goal becomes speaking through those sentences without hesitating. Just keep the flow going.
So the structure does the heavy lifting for fluency.
It really does. Now, obviously, you still need to speak clearly. If you mumble or your pronunciation isn't clear, that'll hurt you. But the structure itself promotes that smooth delivery.
And you mentioned a pause.
Yeah, a nice little side benefit. When you use a conjunction like that or how, there's a tiny natural pause right after it. It helps your pacing, makes you sound less rushed, more controlled.
This is really practical, but
Yeah.
here's something you touched on earlier that seems almost too simple. The idea that content isn't king.
Yes. The surprising truth. Our deep dive found that while content obviously matters, you have to say something relevant in many assessments of spoken summaries. Fluency often weighs more heavily than the sheer amount of detail you include.
More than getting every single fact right.
In many cases, yes. It seems counterintuitive, right? But consistent, smooth, unhesitating speech is often prioritized.
Are there examples of this?
Yeah, the source material had some compelling anecdotes. One person jumped significantly in their score from like 54 to 79 after learning these fluency techniques.
Wow.
Another story involved a woman who actually scored 90 top marks in speaking, but admitted she wasn't great at taking detailed notes.
So how did she manage the summary part?
When asked, she said a friend just told her, "Remember 2 things the speaker said and repeat them every second sentence."
Seriously, just 2 points repeated.
Apparently. Now that might be an extreme simplification, but it highlighted a key insight. The scoring systems, or perhaps just human perception, often reward that unhesitating speech flow very highly.
So the takeaway isn't to ignore content, but don't get so bogged down trying to recall every detail that your fluency suffers.
Precisely. Clear pronunciation is vital. You have to be understood. But maintaining that forward momentum in your speech, even if you only hit a few key points derived from your notes, can be incredibly effective.
And while noun clauses are great for adding detail,
They're the recommended way, for sure. But even just completing the sentences in the procedure directly, stating the points simply after the transitive verb, is often acceptable and still maintains that crucial fluency.
okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big picture here for someone listening beyond just test strategies?
Well, I think this deep dive really shows that summarizing and sharing information quickly and effectively isn't just about what you know. A huge part of it is how you communicate it.
The delivery matters as much as the data sometimes.
It seems so. This structure, using transitive verbs and noun clauses, it gives you a powerful, almost ready-made framework. It helps you sound coherent and confident, even when you're under pressure or working from minimal notes.
So it's less a test trick and more a blueprint for effective communication.
I think so, yeah. It applies anytime you need to listen, distill the essence, and then share it clearly. Think meetings, presentations, even just summarizing an article for someone. It forces a structured way of listening and speaking.
It gives you a pathway to deliver clear, confident insights.
Exactly.
So here's a thought for you listening. Next time you're in a lecture or listening to a presentation, or maybe even just hearing someone tell a long story, try mentally applying this procedure.
A good exercise.
Focus on those key verbs: mentioned, described, said, explained. Try to catch the what that comes after them. See if framing it that way helps you grab the core message.
And then think about how you'd articulate it using that structure.
Could focusing on that simple grammatical structure actually change how you absorb and then share knowledge? Could it make you sound, maybe surprisingly, more fluent and articulate on the spot? It's a fundamental shift in approach, really. Something to ponder.